Welcome back, my dear reading champs, to our story of Ivan. The story ahead for you, children. The next chapter is titled Poking and Prodding. The woman who was trying to coax Ruby to enter the box soon brings an animal doctor. This animal doctor examines Ruby, poking and prodding her eyes, her feet, and her trunk. Thereafter, the doctor enters Ivan's domain. But what does Ivan do? Ivan beats his chest and roars loudly to drive the poor animal doctor away even before he could examine him. I now wonder, why has the animal doctor come to Ivan's domain to examine him? Any guesses, children? The next chapter is titled No Painting. Life in the circus suddenly grinds to a halt. There are no shows, and no one asks Ivan to paint any longer. There are no visitors. The circus is abandoned. The only people around are the protesters who are outside in the parking lot. And Mac too remains locked up in his room. The next chapter is titled More Boxes. One morning, Ivan wakes up to find a large box, which is exactly his size. Now, Bob informs him that a whole lot of boxes have arrived in the circus. Now, this means that all the circus animals are now going to be taken away either to a zoo or to the animal shelter. Ivan starts wondering what will happen to Bob. After all, Bob is a stray dog and so he's a free dog. He is not going to go in a box anywhere. Bob is sad. He's sad because he's going to be losing his friends. And so is Ivan. Ivan too is sad. Ivan looks into the box. Like Ruby, he too suddenly doesn't feel like getting inside the box. You know why? Because when he looks at these boxes here, he recalls his last memory of being in a box when he was a child. Do you remember? His twin sister, not Tag, had died in such a box. So Ivan really doesn't have good memories of such a box. The next chapter is titled Goodbye. Julia comes to say goodbye to Ivan because he too is after all leaving the circus. Mac fired her dad, but she is hopeful that a zoo will hire him and they all will be together again. Julia is crying while saying her goodbye to both Ivan and Ruby, but she's happy for them. She worries about Bob and wonders what is going to happen to Bob. So what does she do? She suggests to her dad that they can perhaps adopt Bob, but George disagreed because he is jobless and he can't feed another mouth. Ivan wishes he could speak to Julia. He holds up his hand next to hers through the glass pane that separates them. And Ruby gives Julia a trunk hug as a goodbye. You can see Ruby giving Julia a hug in this picture. Before leaving, Julia gives Ivan a farewell present. What is this farewell present that Julia gives Ivan? She gives Ivan a drawing of Ruby and Ivan. And in this drawing, both Ruby and Ivan are with other animals of their own kind. So there are other elephants and other gorillas. Ivan, in fact, is depicted holding hands with a lovely she gorilla, that is a lady gorilla, who is wearing a flower in her hair. This drawing is very different from Julia's previous drawings of Ivan. For the first time in Julia's drawing, Ivan actually has a smile on his face. Soon Ivan's box is placed right outside his cage for Ivan to walk into and finally escape the circus. Initially, Ivan doesn't want to step inside this box, not even for all the goodies placed inside the cage. And just to tempt him, yogurt raisin, tiny marshmallow, ripe papaya, apple slice, all these are placed, but nothing tempts Ivan. Finally, Ivan does step inside, but only because Ruby is watching him, and Ivan has to set an example for the reluctant Ruby. Ivan knows that this box is the way out for Ruby, so Ivan steps into this box so that he can be carried away. The next chapter is titled An Idea. Ivan, he's feeling sad for Bob, and while feeling sad, he gets a brainwave. He asks his friend Bob to sneak into the box and live with him in the zoo. If Bob sneaks into the box, then Bob can be carried along with Ivan to Ivan's new home. And then he can stay with Ivan. But Bob declines this offer. Any guesses why Bob doesn't want to get into that box? Well, Bob reminds Ivan that he is a wild beast, a stray dog, and he doesn't want to be tamed. Now, children, I wonder, will Bob be left all alone in the circus? Will Julia's farewell gift painting of Ivan and Ruby together in a zoo become a reality? Will Ivan be always smiling in his new home just the way Julia has painted him smiling in her painting? In fact, where is Ivan's new home? Is Ivan's new home a zoo or an animal shelter? Children, finish the book to find out what happens.